Welcome back, Life Glossers. So, bye-bye, baby. Are you buying? Are you trying? How are you buying? So, I stumbled across something on Instagram, or as the kids say, on the gram. And I sent it to Hillary because instantly her and I both geek out over stats. Believe it or not, we are not math girls. I'm going to speak for both of us, Hill. We are not math girls. We are not STEM girls, but we are gals who really geek out on certain things, especially when it comes to marketing, buying, purchasing power, things like that, because we both have such extensive corporate cosmetics backgrounds, as you guys know. And we really had to track some of this stuff when we were in education. And what is the sell through like? How much are we buying? How are we buying? Well, that was back before the internet, meaning in the beginning you tracked sales by who was walking into the brick and mortar. Well, as we know, things have changed. But I'm still fascinated, not just how Hillary and I purchase, but how we all purchase. So I stumbled across this little blurb that came out in the Business of Beauty. They're great. If you don't follow them on Instagram and you're interested in this stuff, follow Business of Beauty. I really get a lot of information from them, and they're just a really cool Instagram site if you're into this kind of stuff, beauty facts. And the headline was Europeans still buy 78% of their beauty products in store. And then it had a Nielsen breakdown of percentages of around the world globally. How are people purchasing? Are they purchasing online or is it brick and mortar? And I just found this fascinating. So we want to kind of talk about it. And I sent it to Hill and she was interested.
Again, yeah, we've been tracking this forever. Do you remember, and some of our audience might remember, when like Allure magazine would break the country into pieces and they would say, this is the number one mascara on the West Coast versus the number one mascara on the East Coast. And then they would do it with blushes and lipsticks, and the women in Dallas were always wearing the pinks, and it was like so interesting seeing the urban centers versus the more more rural centers, or less city girls. So it's been fun. And yes, as beauty directors and with all of our other lives in beauty, as beauty executives and everything else, we were always having to track this and always customizing our teaching and our training and our education. And a lot of that also drove product development too. So now that everything's online, we can track things to the very last little iota. And it's fascinating culturally how people have adopted the internet, and especially the beauty internet. I remember when I was with Sephora.com, I was part of the team that launched Sephora.com and brought beauty to the internet. And speaking to the CEO at the time, who said, and I had, kind of been working in the background to hire these online beauty advisors, and I wanted to have them, onboarded and ready to go for the launch when we flipped the switch and turned the website on. And he thought, oh, Hillary, why do we need any of that? He said, just put up a few questions, some Q&A in each of the three categories: color, skincare, fragrance. This is just going to be a replenishment business anyway. And I thought, are you kidding? This is not going to be a replenishment business. This is a discovery business. There are so many people that can't get to a mall or a Sephora or a department store. They have no access. This gives them access. And he kind of looked at me like, she might know something, and patted me on the head and said, well, let's give it a few days after launch and let's see if there are a lot of questions and people want to buy and they need shade guidance. We'll bring them in. Okay, we didn't get halfway through the launch party before he said, our servers are under duress with people saying, which shade, which shade, which shade? He's like, do you have those girls' phone numbers? And I was like, they've already gone through HR. I just need you to sign off on hiring them. They can start tomorrow. And
Right.
There we go. That's history. That was 1999,
Yeah.
1998, 1999. I can't remember.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's so cool how you and I both we're part of that generation that we were working during a time where change was massive in the beauty industry. And so many younger people don't realize that coming from just brick and mortar and moving into online and internet sales was just huge, and I'm so
It was
grateful we
mind
were a
blowing.
part of it because it really was life changing. And especially coming from an education point of view, we had a lot of weight on our shoulders to make it work because everyone was terrified. You were either in one camp that you thought it was going to destroy the industry and destroy the beauty industry in general, or you were in the camp, oh, it's just going to be, the greatest thing in the world, and no one's going to go into a store anymore, and all the stores are going to close, and people are only going to buy online. So it was very black and white how people were sort of adjusting to this. And what's interesting, Hill, and you brought up a great point when I was listening to you, you were talking about Sephora. Sephora being a French brand, as I'm sure most people hopefully know, LVMH. And it's interesting because the French really, and I don't want to just say the French, but generally speaking, Europeans were the most resistant to the online world of beauty. They did not get it. They did not understand it. They thought it was strictly going to be replenishment. That I think there was a fear factor there. But looking at what I sent you, Europeans are still 78% of them are still buying products in store.
And I
So,
love that for them. I love that
yes,
for them.
me
I feel like they
too.
do it. I feel like they do it better. I mean, we get lazy and we're just like, oh, I saw it on Instagram. Oh, I'm just going to get this. But like when you were here in Los Angeles, the delight of going into a store, smelling all of the scents that
You don't have to tell me.
intermingle, and the
I
air in a department store, the air in like a Neiman Marcus, or oh, it's just all
know.
of it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because it reminds me of my childhood, but there's something romantic, and it was like being in a theater production and just
Yeah.
stepping into another world, and it just enraptured us. And
Yeah.
you know, it that was the intent. That was the intent from the very first department store experience ever. And we really continued that into the 80s. That was still there in the 90s a little bit.
Hmm.
And then it sort of started to fall away. We can still find it in some of our, home, in some of the more magical places that still put the effort into retail. You can still get a little whisper of what it used to be, but it used to be a show, a
Yeah.
charade. It was quite, bells and
Yeah.
whistles, as you know.
I
But
do. I do. It was all a show. It was like it
the
was a theater.
romance.
It was
Mm-hmm.
just a theater experience.
Yeah.
Um, And I just want to go through this with you and
Mm-hmm.
kind of just talk about each sort of area globally where how people are purchasing. So it says here, and again, this is from the Business of Beauty. This is the source. China, number one for online sales. 87% shop online for their beauty. So they are literally not going in stores and purchasing. South Korea is 78%. Same thing, online. They are not doing brick and mortar over there. Now, you come to the US, we're almost a 50-50 split. 43% are purchasing online. The rest are brick and mortar. So that gave me hope
Yeah.
that
Not
there's
everything
still
is not lost.
that
All is not
everything is not
lost.
lost. People
Yeah.
still want a human touch, a human experience. Europe is 78% in store and 22% online. So Europe is definitely not the online shoppers. India, 17% shop online. So they are still going in store.
Interesting.
And the number one country that is doing the least amount of shopping online, 8%, they are pretty much exclusively in-store experience, Brazil.
Good for
Fascinating.
them. It is
Fascinating to me.
fascinating. It's
Yeah,
fascinating. It's so
it
interesting.
is.
And I would be really interested to see the correlation of perceived quality of life or perceived happiness as
Yes.
related to being online. I would pretty much guarantee that the less online shopping they do, the happier they are registered as a country, or the higher their citizens would equate their quality of life.
I
That's
think
just
that's an
my
interesting
feeling.
point.
Hmm.
Yeah, because when you're talking about the beauty industry, and again, we're not talking about retail in general, clothing, shoes. We're talking about beauty, fragrance, skincare. the beauty industry is a person to person experience. It is a human touch experience, which is why I remember bringing companies on to online platforms, and I was a part of it, and so were you with many companies. The fear factor was, it was real because it was confusing for those of us that grew up in this industry. We know it's all about smell, taste, touch, personal. We spend so much time working with clients one-on-one, not just to make them look good, but to feel better. How many times did
Mm-hmm.
we make the joke, Hill, that there shouldn't be chairs in the cosmetic department, there should be couches because we're all
Right.
beauty we're shrinks with a
Yeah.
makeup brush.
Yeah.
Women would come in, men would come in, tell us their life stories, and we would bond, and there was a connection that was so deep and personal. We made friends with many of our clients, and
Of course.
I have clients that are still friends of mine
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see. So we wanted to bring this up today, listeners, because we'd love to hear from all of you in the comments. How are you purchasing? Are you a brick and
Where
mortar
do you
fan?
live and how do you purchase? Mm-hmm.
Or are you an online lady? I'd have to say I am predominantly a brick and mortar person because I love to smell, taste, touch. I love the experience. But I have to be honest, I
Yeah.
do some beauty shopping online too because
Yeah.
it's quick and easy. So that being said, I purchase my replenishment products online. Okay. I really tend to do that. I'll be honest. But when I want something new, or I want to see something new, or I just want to be inspired, I have to go online. It's rare you will find me making a new purchase with online without having experienced it in store. Are you the same?
Interesting. Replenishment I definitely do online. Uh I do about 50-50. I'll take a chance with something new online. I will watch it. I'll watch it. I'll watch how a few other people use it and I'll see how it goes on the skin. There, because I do really love indie brands and I love indie makeup artist brands, a lot of
Mm,
them are only available online because they don't have the
correct.
in-store agreements. So that's what differentiates for me. So I probably do new discovery 50
Same.
50. 50% online. I want to support our new guys and gals that are out there doing it on
Yes.
their own and are not in store. I sometimes it's hard to get me off this hill to drive all the way down and get into there, and sometimes I guess it's lazy, but you know when I make the time and I force myself to go and carve out the moments to go and touch and feel things, question, why have I not been doing this? Because you get to talk to the people in the store, you get to
Yes.
feel things. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like Christmas. And I would also say, loneliness has a lot to do with our society right now. And I think some of the loneliest people are the ones that are only doing things online. Yes, you can do
I
TikTok
agree.
lives, you can make friends, you can do all that, but there's something about exchanging an energy field with someone in that environment and sharing the excitement. I think the more we can get in store, it's the better it is, even for our mental health. So,
Oh, completely. I mean, it's
yeah, but
very
I'm guilty
isolating.
of doing things online.
Yeah. I think we all are. I love nothing more. I mean, my dog was barking earlier, and um, somebody coming and leaving a package. I mean, it's kind of fun. It's like Christmas or Hanukkah every day around here. There's always a package coming to my house, and it's like, oh yeah, I got a package. So there's that fun too. But to your point, I do think that there is a tremendous amount of isolation. There's a tremendous amount of loneliness, and I'm interested in asking our listeners and just talking briefly on what is the age? What is the generation that's shopping more online? Is Gen Z, millennials, are they more online or in person? Is it more Gen X and boomers that are more of the in person? Or has it flipped? And because they've gotten older, maybe not getting out as much, or they don't have the time, you're busy working, raising a family, whatever. Do you purchase online because it's easier? So I'm interested to see what the age demographic is. That's my next thing I want to find. Like, what is the age demographic that's shopping more beauty online versus in store?
You know, we that will be really interesting to dig into just from being out in the world as still a working artist. Something that
Mhm.
I've noticed is that there is a flip as far as some of the people like us, people that are 50 plus. I think a lot of us are shopping online because we're like, "Oh, we've got this figured out. We know ourselves." There are some things like grays and matching foundations and textures you just have to go, or we'll buy, we'll return, we'll figure it out. Like we're kind of all over the place. Much older than us, I think, is doing a lot more online for convenience. I've noticed that even with, is it Gen Alpha that I'm
Oh,
doing
yeah.
dealing with
I forgot about
sometimes?
them.
Yeah, I know, right? Like the Gen Alphas, I'll see them if they're like the kids of my clients, or if I'm doing an event and there are like younger teenagers there, and they're freaked out by human interaction. Like, I'm not all of them, but a lot of them are not used to talking to a real person about beauty, and they're really freaked out by it. Like I just did a big event over the weekend, and there was a combination of a lot of women, and a lot of them had kids. And the kids were either really well socialized or they were really freaked out about talking to someone about beauty. And I know, because I know their online presence, some of these kids are like little semi influencers themselves. They have all this personality on camera. Are, you would think that they would be as bubbly and interpersonally comfortable in person. They were clammed up. 80% of them, there were a lot of younger teens there. 80% of them were like freaked out,
Yeah.
clammed up, asking their
Yeah.
mom, "What do I say to her? I don't even know what to say to her. Like, how am I
Yeah.
supposed to talk to her?" So I was
Yeah.
doing everything to just be super casual, make them really comfortable, ask them a lot of questions, talk to them about their content or things that they were doing. But I noticed that in person was really uncomfortable. And especially coming out of COVID, when that was a developmental period of time for a lot of kids that even missed school, I worry.
Yeah, I mean, I have both my kids are Gen Z. My son is a cutoff. He was born in '09. So Alpha is 2010 and under. So he
Okay.
really is an Alpha Z, right? And my
Yeah.
daughter being 19, she'll be 20 this year. She's a Gen Zer. So it's interesting to what you're saying. I wasn't even thinking about the alphas because they're really 15 and under, but
Yeah.
you're right. They
Yeah.
really are the tweens and those young
Yeah.
teens. But I absolutely see it in both Alpha and Z generation, the lack of being able to socialize, being able to talk to someone, being able to talk on the phone is a real
Right.
problem. It's a real
Right.
problem. My kids don't like to talk on the phone at all. And you couldn't get the phone out of my hand or my ear
Yeah.
when I was a teenager. I was glued to it. So, you know, it's interesting, right? The different dynamics. But I with both of them though, they don't love shopping. My daughter has grown to like it because she's my daughter and we kind of do it together. So she doesn't hate it, but she's very specific. She knows what she wants. She goes in, she purchases. Um, but I do, and my son's not interested in buying. He only buys what he needs when he needs it, and 9 times out of 10, it is online. But he will go if he needs something like at a comic book shop or whatever. He likes to go into a store. My daughter enjoys going into stores. But I do think that that generation, from what I'm seeing, they do tend to be a little 50-50. They do like to
Mm-hmm.
go in and experience, because they kind of grew up going to toy stores still and things like that.
Right.
But it's the
Right.
alpha ones that really maybe didn't experience that everything was just on online. They grew up with Amazon, right? The nanny of Amazon.
Right.
So it is fascinating. But as far as the beauty industry goes and our generation, I would love to hear in the comments from our listeners that are predominantly 40 plus, I'm guessing. Where are
Right.
you purchasing? Are you
And you're
doing
seeing
online?
more.
Are you going in?
Yeah, and you're seeing more brands try to create experiences, and that seems to work. Like having like, I'm even seeing like, nightclub vibes with store vibes, with like bibliotech vibes with store vibes. I
Yes,
mean, Glossier was one of the ones that kind of got that Gen X, Gen Alpha experience in the store. So
right.
it's interesting when I say people, so much of that generation isn't comfortable interacting, but they're trying to create experiences. It might be because it gives an additional distraction or another layer
Yeah,
of
yeah.
cushion, a
I
little
s-
barrier there.
I still get
Who knows?
invitations to events,
Yeah.
beauty events in
Yeah.
stores. So I know they're still doing them.
Yes.
And I know that, like I said, I was recently in Palm Beach with my daughter and we were shopping. The shopping's great in Palm Beach. If you've ever been there, you know that. And we were going around, and I mean, the shops were busy, the stores were busy, and everything is an event there. Like
Yeah.
an event, you're invited to all these like shopping events, and everywhere we went, there seemed to be groups of women and events happening. And I was fascinated by that. I was like, wow, thank God they're still doing this. In New York, you still see it. So it could be a regional thing too. But I think brick and mortar, as we've talked about before on this podcast, in order to compete with the online and in order to keep their customer base, they do need to create more, as you said, a nightclub feel or an event, or there's got to be a reason to go into the store. So I think as we move in the future, I think retailers really do need to look at not just how they're capturing, but how they're
And creating a
keeping their.
lifestyle. I mean, we're seeing brands hiring, movie producers, and they're creating whole production houses. So there's a whole, there's an entire life cycle, and it's an entire culture that brings in, something that is extremely experiential. So it's
Yeah, I
really
agree.
it's really interesting to see how brands are now building, collective communities that are, I'm looking at some brands that are starting to create, not commercials but little films, and they're bringing big designers in house from the movie industry, from, you know all of the different stretches. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So they're
Yeah.
trying to get
I
more
mean,
brand DNA there, but even that is still
yeah.
digital.
I live about a half an hour away from one of the largest malls in the United States. And I am telling you, you cannot get a parking spot on the weekends. I went there during the holidays to do some shopping because it takes a lot for me to go to this mall because it is just, I know, it is like, it's too much for me. Okay. It is a nightmare. And I'm not a mall girl, having spent
Oh,
thousands of hours and years having to go to every mall in America, literally, and do training. So I can tell you, I know every freaking mall in the world, as do you. I don't think there's one I haven't been to, and I'm not exaggerating. Okay.
no, I'm
So,
sure.
yeah. So I am doing events and doing it's just, it's crazy. So to get me to go to one is really hard for me. But this one is so high end and so famous, and it's just massive. So I think it's the third most profitable in America. So because of that, going there, I'm telling you, people are still shopping in store. I mean, you would
Yeah,
think that it would be, quiet during, but I still gauge it over the holidays. And
right.
I did go in.
Yeah.
I think it was a week before Christmas. I needed something. It was terrible. Thank God for valet at Neiman's. That's all I have to
Oh,
say.
yeah.
And I couldn't believe how packed it was. I mean, I literally could not believe how packed it was. So I said to my husband, see, people are still wanting an experience. People still, to your point, Hill, want that socialization. And there is a store there that, I mean, it has very high end luxury, like a Ala Moana or a South Coast Plaza. It's got all the kids are there. Chanel, Hermes,
Right.
Vuitton, Gucci, everybody's there. Um, and then you have you have the other side of the mall, right? So I call it the mass and class mall, right? But it's interesting to see that it is just most of this stuff you probably could get online, but yet it was just packed, and it's kind
I
of
love that.
busy all year round.
Yeah.
So it's
I
it's
love
still
that. And I
thriving.
love that. Yeah. And I love that brands are we're starting to look, it used to be all about the brand DNA. And I think now it's like, the whole brand ecosystem. And the ecosystem is getting bigger. The galaxy of a brand is getting bigger. I'm
Yes.
excited to see what happens there. But on our next upcoming episode, you know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about, well, everything's getting super digital and everything's getting super modern. We're also seeing this this reminiscence and this nostalgia for the good old days. I'm seeing
Yeah.
that in people saying, let's go analog again. Let's start. I'm seeing there's like this romanticism around smoking cigarettes again. There's like this whole, like, let's get in the Wayback Machine when things were simpler and there was a human touch. So I feel like, the pendulums always swing. And as
Always.
AI moves us into spacesuits and being genderless and who knows what going to Mars, I feel like some people are like, you want to know what? I want a landline and a cigarette. And I want to talk about that. What does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think with anything in whether it's the beauty industry or the retail industry in general,
Mm-hmm.
you're always going to see that pendulum swing. I love watching influencers on Instagram and they'll talk about a brand like they just discovered it. And I'm thinking to myself,
Mm-hmm.
that's been around for 20 years. That's
Like
been around for
Clarence.
like, I mean, you
Clarence,
know what
all of
I'm
a sudden
saying?
people are like, ooh.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate to be the cynical bitch, but I'm kind of like, really? You're not discovering anything new here, and it's
But Suze,
all
people
been
are
done.
wearing baby doll dresses and Doc Martens again, slips and Docs. I'm
Uh,
like,
yeah,
oh.
still have some. I know. I mean, and I'm watching my daughter now wear Docs, but it is funny. I think the pendulum has swung that people are really craving, now that we've come out of a pandemic for a few years now, people are back to craving that human touch. They're back to wanting to experience that. I hope it continues. I really do. I have I in the crazy world we're living in, Hill, I really hope that humanity just comes together for the good of
Yes.
beauty and says, let's get out, let's be kind, let's shop, let's go a little slower, let's take some time to be around each other and spread a little joy. So
And spend time together. It's so nice to sit at a
it is
table.
nice.
Like when you and I get together, we don't even know where our phones are. We're just catching up like the old
No,
days. That's how this podcast started. So,
that's right.
with that in mind,
That's
stay tuned. We're going to continue taking deep dives into all the deep questions, and we'll keep you posted about little beauty things that can, ruffle your feathers and make you feel good. You can gild the lily along the way, but yeah, we're going
that's
deep
right.
this year too. So,
Yeah, a little bit of philosophy with our beauty. Why not? The world is a dark place right now, so let's add a little light and keep it a little glossy in our little bubble of beauty.
cheers to that. Absolutely.
Cheers.
So follow us on socials. We're always going to show you what we're trying. So if you have heard of anything or if you liked anything that you've seen us talk about on this podcast and you're like, I wonder how they use that, or I wonder what that looks like on, we've committed to you this time to not just show you here, but we're going to show you on social so you can get more of a deep dive. So like I'll be showing you masks and colors and all those different things, and Susan will be doing the same. So if you saw or heard something here and you want to see more, go to socials and see it there.
And ask away. Ask us questions. We're here for you.
Questions. Yes.
Please.
Until then,
Stay glossy.
stay glossy. See you later,
Stay glossy.
Suze.
Bye, Hill.